right, good afternoon everybody. Thank you for being here. You're our afternoon group, so that really, all that means is that we are keeping you away from probably ending your day. So hopefully we will give you an exciting presentation this afternoon. But I want to appreciate all of you being here and all of you and your dedication to being a part of MiCareerQuest. I know that whether you were voluntold to be here or whether you were a large part in developing your exhibit, we really cannot do it without you. So with that being said, I do want to kind of give a little bit of an overview of everyone who kind of helps make this event possible. I won't be terribly long with this, but before I do that, I should probably say I'm Chad Patton, so I'm the Director of Development and Innovation at West Michigan Works. I'm joined with Maggie, who I can let introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Maggie Ryan. I'm the project manager for MiCareerQuest, so I handle a lot of the operational details about MiCareerQuest overall, and many of you have gotten emails from me, and if you haven't, you should look out for more emails from me.
And I have the privilege of working with Maggie as Development and Innovation houses the MiCareerQuest event. I also want to take a moment to recognize the other individuals that you have probably worked with, really on the employer side of things too. And this includes our industry council leads with Jerry Hill representing advanced manufacturing, Carol Distel with agribusiness, Carrie Brown and Jason Curry with construction leads, Trevor Muir with health sciences, and then information technology is represented by John Rummery. So they work very closely with Maggie, and they also work very closely with the employer champions who, once again, we could not do this without them. And so representing advanced manufacturing is Jake Hall. Agribusiness, we have Austin Eckert and Amy Misowich. Kevin Lutz with construction, as well as John Hartwell. With health sciences, Jamel Kelly and Stephen Smith. And then with information technology, Sharon Friend Robinette. I really like to make sure that I call them out, because, especially with this group, because they're the ones who are working closely with the industry councils and with our industry council leads to make sure that every sector has exhibitors and that they're able to fill their acquaintance with a lot of great stuff for the 8,000 students that will be working with and experiencing what you're all bringing to your exhibits. So let's get into the why. The fact of the matter is that 75 million workers will retire by 2030, and only 51 million workers will enter the workforce to replace them. That's a pretty large gap. And this data, this information, it's been around for a while. Back in 2015, when we developed MiCareerQuest in partnership with the Construction Workforce Development Association as well as Kent ISD, we recognized this and said we need a strategy. And we were asking these questions of what are we doing to ensure that all 5 of our industry talent councils are represented, and we're creating a strategy for getting talent into these sectors. And so MiCareerQuest was born as a way to take good data and strong partnerships and provide a great experience to students so that they are aware of as many careers as possible, and they're making plans for those careers. And so when I talk about these 5 industry councils, like I mentioned, we used data to figure out what are some of our largest industries around the area. When it comes to MiCareerQuest, we obviously have more jobs and more careers than what is listed or what's a part of our industry councils. But what we did is we used our hot jobs list, which is published by West Michigan Works every year, and we took those hot jobs and the data that backs up that these are high demand jobs that are going to have high growth, and we focused our industry talent councils around that. So now even our hot jobs are grouped into the different industries that we highlight across West Michigan Works. Once again, we still have more jobs and careers outside of those industries, and on top of that with MiCareerQuest, we are highlighting more jobs than what is currently listed on our hot jobs list, but this is definitely a foundation for what we're doing and why we're doing it, and it's all based on data. So at this point, I'm going to have Maggie talk a little bit more about the day of event, and I'll hand it over to her.
Thanks, Chad. So as you all know, MiCareerQuest, the event day is on March 27th. One of the most common questions we get from folks is, what time should we arrive this morning? For the day of MiCareerQuest, we encourage you to arrive around 7:30 a.m. and know that it may take a while to park. A lot of people come all at the same time. Schools come at the same time. So we want to make sure you're aware it may take some time to get into the event, and then plan to be at your exhibit by around 8 a.m. Students start coming at 9 a.m., but getting there at 8 means that you have time to set up beforehand, get everything situated, figure out where the bathrooms are, figure out where you'll be getting lunch, figure out where the water fountains are. This year, MiCareerQuest ends at 1:25 p.m. and it usually takes around 20 minutes to an hour, depending on how complex your exhibit is, to break it down. It is at the DeVos Place, and the goal of MiCareerQuest is to have those hands-on, inspiring exhibits, so show students what it would be like to work as something for a day, or at least a small part of what it might be like to do something for a day. What would it be like if you want to take a bare root plant, and what would it be like if you wanted to work as an EMT? Get students those hands-on experiences so that they can see, oh, this is something interesting I'd never heard of before. It's not supposed to be like your traditional career fair. We don't want to have people standing there with flyers or non-interactive exhibits. So hopefully you've already talked with your industry council leads about your exhibit. Make sure that you are thinking about those hands-on. It doesn't need to be high-tech, but hands-on ways to get students involved. This year, DeVos is going to be divided up into 5 industry quadrants, which is a change from prior years. You all will be spread throughout the event, having exhibits that students interact with, and then we also have higher education sponsors that are spread throughout the event to help tie those degree tracks with the exhibits that are shown, and also different educational ways to get into, like apprenticeships, training programs. So students can see, if I want to become an electrician, this is the way that I can become one. Quadrants are piped and draped in a color that matches your industry, so each industry area has its own color, and that's to help draw student attention to the fact that there are different careers that may be represented in different industries, but to think, oh, if I went into if I went to agribusiness, these are the jobs I could look forward to doing. It also helps with student movements, because students are assigned an initial lanyard color. We'll go over that in your packet, it has some more information, but that helps with student movement to make sure students go throughout all 5 industry areas. Students don't just go into one industry area and then decide they want to stay there the whole time. They move as a group between the different areas. So at this point we have a video that shows what MiCareerQuest looks like. And I want you to pay attention to the number of students that you see, and also the things that our exhibitors are doing with students in the video. You'll be able to get an idea of how those hands-on exhibits do work in the real world with students, and also to understand, if you haven't participated before, the number of students that will be at the event. But the volume of the students there is something that I do want to emphasize to you when you're going into and thinking about what the day will be like. This year we have around 8,000 students that have registered, and 111 companies are having exhibits at MiCareerQuest across the 5 industries. showing 301 different jobs. It's super exciting. Students really do learn about a lot of different careers. The surveys show that students' eyes are really open to jobs they had not thought about before in different industries. The MiCareerQuest does expose students to new careers that they then become interested in and enter into after high school. So one student said the best thing was that they learned about careers and professions they didn't know existed, and students also say one of the things they really like about MiCareerQuest is the ability to work with students from other schools across the region. We have a really large, diverse region, and students at schools may not necessarily get to see that diversity, but when they're working at exhibits, they're usually either collaboratively working or competitively working, and they get to see those different students from different schools. They really like that. Educators like the fact that MiCareerQuest shows students those new jobs, and that also the educators themselves learn about the connections between the jobs that they're seeing and the ways that students in the region can then enter into those jobs. So they learn about training programs, they learn about ways of funding education they may not have known about before, and that helps those educators then when they go back and work with students, even ones who didn't go to MiCareerQuest. And this educator did mention colleges and degrees, but we are very intentional about making sure that students, no matter what their whatever their educational track is, know that there are jobs that they'll be able to get when they graduate. Into some of the specifics, we've gone over this at planning meetings, but we want to make sure it's very clear for people. Company banners or tablecloths are not allowed. Each exhibit has a sign that they get that has the occupation and logos of the participating exhibitors. Those have been uploaded to Basecamp, and those will be hung up by us on setup day. Distribution of papers like brochures, promotional items, pamphlets, and flyers are not permitted within the exhibit hall quadrants. There is an exception for both of these for educational sponsors. Educational sponsors do get a 2x6 table that they can have those branded tablecloths on, and they're also permitted to hand out flyers about the degree programs that they have. Swag items is another thing we get a lot of questions about. Swag items are permitted if they're produced, generated, or earned by the attendee as part of the interactive portion of the exhibit. It must be related to the occupation. It means we don't want to have you just have tables of pens out or things that aren't related to what you're having students do. But it doesn't need to be unbranded swag. It's okay if you have a uniform that has a logo on it. It's okay if you have a vehicle that has a logo on it, or if you've got swag items that have logos on it. These company banners, tablecloths are the things where we don't permit those logos, and also no pop-up tents, no balloons, no latex gloves. For the balloons, it can set off the DeVos sprinkler system, and latex gloves is because of student allergies. Please come dressed as you would at a normal day at your job. We want students to be thinking about what they want to look like when they go to their job. Do they want to wear a uniform? Do they want to wear a suit? Do they want to wear jeans? What you wear is important to the students in helping decide what they want to do after in their career. One very important caveat to that is comfortable shoes. Please wear very comfortable shoes. Think about bringing 2 pairs of shoes and switching out through the event. It is a very long day. The floors are very, very hard, and I cannot emphasize this enough. Your feet will hurt even if you're not really walking. So don't wear new shoes. Wear comfortable, broken-in shoes, and think about taking some breaks sitting down in the chair to help rest your feet. One new thing that we are doing this year is 3D mapping. That's kind of like how with a real estate, like you look on a new house and you can walk around the house virtually. We're doing that at MiCareerQuest, so students are going to be able to virtually walk through the event, and they can then click into the exhibits and see where the exhibitors have set up their signs, and they can walk around the area. We want to get information from you for these 3D maps, so when students click into your exhibit, if you have any flyers you'd like to give them, if you'd like information you'd like to give them, YouTube videos that you'd like to give them, please put those on your Basecamp folders. We emailed out instructions before. If you need any help getting information on there, we can help you. And we'll be adding those materials to that 3D walkthrough, which will be available to students either who have come to MiCareerQuest or who weren't able to come to MiCareerQuest because of spring break or because their schools didn't participate. One thing that we would like you to do, if you're able to, is if you have videos that are already made showing what people do at a day at your job, please upload those to the Basecamp folder. We want students to see what actually is going on. Otherwise, you can take a video of students interacting with your exhibit that day in landscape mode. We'll upload those to YouTube and we'll post those on the walkthrough. So the walkthrough is the exhibit set up when there's nobody there. So the students may not know what they would have been doing if they had been able to go in person, so that they're able to see that. We don't want this to be extra work for you though. If you already have videos, feel free to upload those. If you don't want to have videos, that's fine. It's just an opportunity for you to show those careers to the students. We have setup day information provided in the move-in, move-out schedule for you. Please contact your industry council lead if you'd like a copy of your supply order. We did upload most of those to Basecamp, so you can double check there. Our final supply orders are due tomorrow, so please, if you have any changes, let us know. The move-in, move-out schedule does have the industry setup times. We're doing things a little bit differently this year with large vehicles set up between 9 and 9:30 a.m. And then after that, we're doing it by industry. So if you do have a very large vehicle or trailer, please plan on coming at the beginning of the day. And then every other industry has the move-in, move-out schedule. If you have any questions about that, please reach out. When you come in on setup day on March 26th, you'll check in at the West Michigan Works table at the center of the quadrant. They'll have West Michigan Works table coverings there. And there is no supply checkout between 12 to 1. DeVos uses unionized labor. They take a lunch break. They will not work over the lunch break, so do not think that you're going to be able to check out from 12 until 1. And that also includes the DeVos place operating the elevators, the freight elevators. We'll give you the supply form and also give the Wi-Fi password. And we do provide parking validation for you on setup day. Please do not bring outside food on setup day. If you plan on being there for the day during lunch, go off-site. There's a ton of places nearby. But Amway and DeVos have requested that we say no outside food on setup day. For parking validations, you can reach out to that West Michigan Works table or your industry council lead. We'll all have parking vouchers for you. If there is a special event on the day of MiCareerQuest or on setup day or day of MiCareerQuest, you need to take a ticket from the machine. This happened last year. Special events are a different thing, it's a different process. Make sure if you are parking and you want to use our parking validation, you need to take the ticket from the machine. Don't take it from a person. This is information about where students arrive, and this is just, it relates to your parking situation because sometimes people don't understand what's going on or why the parking can take so long. But students arrive on Scribner Avenue, they turn right on Michigan Avenue before turning right on Monroe where they offload. And so if you're going to park and you're seeing that there's a ton of buses in the way, just go over to the government lot across the way because these parking areas can get extremely crowded during the beginning part of MiCareerQuest as schools are doing drop-off. There's hundreds of buses that come, so just be aware these are the streets that are going to get congested and head to the government parking. Everyone wears different things for MiCareerQuest. Exhibitors wear what they wear normally, but every exhibitor gets a lanyard that has a white lanyard to identify you as an exhibitor. Students and chaperones get different colored lanyards. They stick together in a different group, and they get a green backpack. No outside backpacks are allowed except for medical devices. Volunteers are going to have bright turquoise shirts, and if you see somebody who doesn't have one of these markers, feel free to point them out to a volunteer, and we can point them to the info desk. We want to remind you there's no storage for personal items. It is a very large event. There are tons of students there. They're middle school to high school age students. They test boundaries. Things have been taken before, so don't bring anything that is critically important that you'd be sad if it went away. If you do have something like a purse, make sure that you have it in an area of your exhibit that is guarded. Don't leave it alone. Don't leave it out. Don't leave cell phones out. Make sure that you are aware it is an event with around 10,000 people there total, so please be conscious of that. And we cannot emphasize this enough about shoes. Wear comfortable shoes. Do not wear high heels. Do not wear new shoes. Students come in two different sessions during the day. The first one's from 9 until 11:10 a.m. and the second is 11:15 to 1:25. They start in one of the exhibit spaces and then they move to all 5 industry areas. Music will play overhead when it's time for the students to switch areas, so if you hear that music, you should start wrapping up your interactions with the students as quickly as possible because they have 3 minutes to get out and move to the next industry area. That map is provided in your packet, so I'm going to walk you through how to read this because sometimes people are a little bit confused, but what would happen is a student comes in, let's say that they have a yellow lanyard on, and they will go into the grand gallery from the buses, go into the construction quadrant first. There, for 23 minutes, they would go to different exhibits. Music would play, they would go into information technology, 23 minutes. Music plays, they go into health sciences for 23 minutes. Music plays, 23 minutes, they go into agribusiness. Music plays, they go to advanced manufacturing, and when those 23 minutes are up, students would then exit MiCareerQuest through the path that's there. So each quadrant has one entrance and one exit. So you may notice that students tend to flow a certain way, but also students are all going to be wearing those same colored lanyards. So if you see a student who's wearing a different colored lanyard, you might want to point out to a volunteer, like this person is in a different quadrant than they should be. But in general, that's how it'll be working. If you're in, say, the advanced manufacturing area, you're getting really tired and you see all the students have those yellow lanyards, that means those students are about to leave MiCareerQuest, and you're probably going to get either a couple minutes break or MiCareerQuest will be over. There's two parking areas. One's on the bottom of DeVos, and the other is the overflow government parking across Monroe. We do have those parking vouchers, one voucher per person per day. These are the industry areas where you would check in. So the info desk is listed there. If you go to move-in day, you'll already have a lanyard and you'll probably know where in the quadrant you are. So you don't need to check in the next day, you can just go to your assigned area. If you haven't been there and you're coming in March 27th, the info desk can help point you to where you need to go and to give you those lanyards that you'll need in order to enter into the event. The stars in each of these industry areas represent where the West Michigan Works tables will be, which is also where the coffee will be for the industry quadrants. We have water and snacks there as well. If you get hungry, if you think maybe your blood sugar is getting a little low, please stop in. We want to make sure nobody passes out. Make sure you're hydrating adequately throughout MiCareerQuest. We do lunches by last name, so from 11 until 1, we have lunches out. Although you are free to take lunch whenever you want to, and you can take breaks as needed. If you are one of the only people at your table, we encourage you to reach out to a volunteer to get coverage at your table while you're going for lunch. And we also have runners who can bring you food, who can bring you water, who can bring you your lunches. Take breaks as needed. And we also do have drinks and appetizers at 1:25 after MiCareerQuest is over, which is when you'll be doing cleanup.
All right. So a couple things that are just important to note. We always want to be prepared for an emergency, so we do have emergency procedures. And so I want to kind of separate out the different emergencies that might happen, whether they're micro emergencies or macro emergencies. A micro emergency might be, a situation we've seen before where a student might faint because they were seeing somebody draw blood, right, or draw fake blood in the healthcare sector, right? And these things have happened before, so we want everyone to be prepared for this. So there are 3 things that you can do. You can call DeVos Security directly. That number is there, and I will also tell you where you can find that during the event, because you probably won't have this PowerPoint with you during, during your time at DeVos. The second thing you can do, there will be DK security guards walking around, but if you cannot find any of them, then you can always talk to somebody with a turquoise MiCareerQuest volunteer shirt on, and they will be able to help you out. My biggest recommendation for you, though, is all of this information can be found at the West Michigan Works desk that is within your quadrant. And so you can always talk to someone there. They will have information to call security for you, or they might even have walkie-talkies that they can call something in. So if anything happens, if anyone gets hurt, anything like that, please feel free to connect with somebody at that desk. Also, the information desk overall, kind of in the front area, if you're around that area for whatever reason, they would be a great place to go to as well. The other thing we want to be prepared for is that we want to make sure that we are protecting students and that we are protecting ourselves. And so a big part of that is that everyone has an identifier. So what that means then is really there are 2 major types of identifiers, either a turquoise shirt or a lanyard with a name badge. So students and school personnel will have name badges and different colored lanyards. Volunteers will have the turquoise shirt. Exhibitors will have a white lanyard with a name badge on it. And then if anyone is coming around for a tour, like participants and guests, they will also have a white lanyard with a name badge on it as well. I will tell you all that I have asked when we did our volunteer orientation yesterday, I just asked everyone there to kindly let someone know if they don't have any of these identifiers, lead them to the information desk or to one of the West Michigan Works tables, just to make sure that they're going through the registration process. And to also just be kind about it, right? I don't want them to be bashful because we want to take this seriously. But oftentimes what might happen is an exhibitor just forgets to do it. So I'll encourage all of you to help anyone who's with you remember to register and to get the identifier. Finally, there are two types of macro emergencies that I want us to be conscious of, and they happen in rare occasions, right? One of which can be natural disasters, or the other can be a sort of bad actor type of emergency. We know that that Grand Rapids, the Grand River, has flooded before. It doesn't happen often, but there is a possibility. So there are emergency responses that DeVos has prepared in response to that. And then, of course, many of us are aware of the bad actors and situations that have occurred across the nation. So we really want to be aware of these things, work on preventing these things from happening, and have a plan. And so that's why we always, we like to say be situationally aware. If you see something, say something. And know that our responses are to run, hide, or fight if there is a bad actor in a situation. And also know where the closest exits are. Finally, for engagement, actually not quite yet finally, but students are going to be equipped with various questions to ask you as exhibitors, right? I want you to be prepared for that. Hopefully you know that you will be engaging with students, right? And I don't believe we included this in your packet, but the reason for that is a lot of these questions, you should know them and you should be able to respond to them, right? So just a few of them are, when did you decide to pursue a career in this field, right? What skills and education are required for your current position? What do you like least about your job? That one you may want to be prepared for, I will say that. So, and also, what do you like best about your job? So the other thing I do want you to be prepared for is that this is not an extensive list of questions that a student might ask you, right? We have had people come up to us who tell us later, hey, this student asked me how much I make, right? Well, we can't really control what questions they're going to ask. So please be prepared for some of these questions that we are not putting on the list, right? So we can make as many lists as we want, but of course students and middle schoolers and high schoolers have a mind of their own, and try to embrace them and be prepared for that. The other thing is we want to make sure that you are actively engaging with students, right? I want to level set a little bit. I do this, Maggie and I are both teachers by trade. I do this with every single orientation. Middle schoolers and high schoolers have the capacity to be mean. And I want you to be prepared for that. They also have the capacity to really just base level, they're not ready to like you. And so that's just a reality. If you're a parent, you probably know that. And if you're not, you probably know that too. So just try to be likable. Short of that, a way to do that is just show enthusiasm. Honestly, that might annoy them more, but it's better than not showing enthusiasm. Keep it simple and jargon-free. Maggie and I both work in workforce development. If you've worked with any of our business solutions professionals before, you'll know that we love our acronyms. Try to not use those because students will not know them. Explain the why, not just the what. Make it a conversation and not a speech. Be interested in the students. Ask them how they're doing, how the event is going for them. what they've been interested in, because you can oftentimes steer them in the direction of, well, maybe you should be interested in this career, right? And then give them something worth remembering. Okay? So with that being said, I've got 2 volunteers. We oftentimes like to give you a little demonstration of how, an exaggerated way of how to and how not to interact with youth. So they are going to be middle schoolers, and let me set the stage a little bit
really
more.
comes back.
Yeah. So right now, pretend that I'm in the IT section. The program that I oversee called Ascend, we are going to be bringing VR technology. And so I want to engage with them and get them to join in on our VR technology. And right now, there are just a lot of students here, but the idea is that they're just wandering around, they don't want to be here, and they're not interested in VR as far as I can tell. So here's scene number 1.
Man, this is overwhelming.
Yeah, no kidding.
Wish we could go home.
I got VR over here if you want to.
Yeah. Except we're talking. You're gonna interrupt.
So like Randy tried to sit next to me on the bus on the way here, and he's super sus. He was trying to like get me in his B-reel and like all this
But
stuff,
are
and
you
I'm like, just
interested
go
in
away.
Why would, I don't know why you would think that's okay.
Yeah, he like, can we sit together on the way home so that like he doesn't try to sit with me
Yeah,
again? 'Cause it's
absolutely.
like, ew.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
All right,
Thank you
and
so much.
C. All right. That was one way to do it. We're gonna go with a different way to do it. We'll see if it's any better. But I told them to be really harsh, so we'll see if it works. All right, you ready?
I was so ready.
All right, good. Hey, how's your experience at MiCareerQuest going?
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Someone in construction let me throw a plunger into a toilet. That was kind of neat.
Oh, that's really good. Do you see yourself being a plumber?
No, probably not.
No. Do you see yourself being a plumber?
Are you kidding?
Well, what? Well, why do you say it like that?
That's gross. Like poop and toilets and stuff. Ew.
I know, but someone's got to do it. Well, what kind of career are you interested in?
I am going to be YouTube famous.
Oh, wow. So
He's really good.
Do you like technology?
I like my phone.
Well, I might have something that could be of interest to you. Have you ever tried virtual reality?
Does
You
it
can
pay
put
a
it on
lot?
your phone.
Well, what I have here are headsets that you can actually put on your head and check out different
Is
careers.
that what they're called, headsets?
Good one. Good one.
See, the meanness is that actually is why they are called. You know, I've actually never thought of that before, but that makes a lot of sense. Well, I can have you come try them out if you would like to.
Okay, so I'm gonna put it on. You can take my picture and then I can
You
put it
got
on
it.
social
And you can,
later.
oh yeah, and this can help with
Yeah.
you can be a VR influencer, can't you?
Heck yeah.
Let's do it.
Sign me up.
All right.
Hey, how much money do you make?
And C, thank you. So, what I'm hoping that shows you is that, you know, obviously you're probably, well, you may or may not. Oh, thank you. Really, I always say, for those of you who thought they were middle schoolers, they actually weren't. That was acting. I hope what that shows, though, is, you know, asking questions, showing interest, talking about what their experience has been like already. What I will say is maybe you might be in the first quadrant that they're going to. So maybe that might look like them talking about, you know, how long they had to wait to get here, or how long their bus ride was. So just show some interest and make sure that you are trying to engage with them at a higher level. Other things to think about, and I know this is weird, but practice in the mirror, right? If you are feeling uncomfortable about this, some people may not be. If you are, try practicing in the mirror, or, you know, if your family's around, far away from your family, as far away in the backyard or maybe in the garage or something, practice with a colleague, or practice various scenarios, and you can do so also in your head of what this might look like. Before we get into questions, this is probably the most important part of our orientation, and that is, where is the coffee? This always comes up, and we want to make sure everyone here knows where the coffee will be. And I'm hoping we've made it a lot easier this time. So we are going to have coffee available 2 days during the setup on the 26th, and then on the 27th during the day of the event. Coffee will be available from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and it will be at the West Michigan Works tables, so they should be pretty visible. These are the tables right at the entrance of every single quadrant. Okay. So, yeah.
What if you don't drink coffee?
There's decaf too.
Oh, and we will have water as well.
I don't drink coffee, period.
Do you drink water?
Only if it's already made in the tea form.
Okay. Do we have tea?
I don't know if they have tea service, but at
Yeah.
lunch they do have tea. So starting at around 10 a.m. there will be tea on the second floor.
Very good. So the vehicle displays, if you are bringing a vehicle, the fire marshal will be there for inspection at 3 p.m. on March 26th, so setup day. The exhibitor survey, we ask that you please fill out, I'm going to be another person asking you to fill out a survey. That's really what this is coming to. However, I want to put a little carrot at the end of the stick. One is we actually provide information on these surveys, and what we really like to focus on continuous improvement, right? So we want the experience to be great for everyone involved, whether they're ISD partners, students, exhibitors, employers, so on and so forth. And then we present on this data and talk a little bit about what we might do with it. And so to add, the carrot is we will be presenting on this data on April 16th. There will be food and beer at this event, and the location is still to be determined. Plan on it being in Grand Rapids from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. So if you don't already have it, please put the save the date in your calendar. The other thing I'll mention, and this is just another carrot, and maybe potentially a time that you could take to fill out a survey, we will, after we pack up, we will have an event right after MiCareerQuest where once again there will be food and beverages too. So we encourage you to stick around for that as well. Anything I'm missing there?
No, but just I wanted to make sure everyone knew those student questions. I did post the student handbooks that we give to the educator packets onto Basecamp. So that's got the full list of students. Students are supposed to come up with their own questions, so expect that they may have some of those off-the-wall questions. But in case they couldn't think of questions, we do give that list that we had on that slide, so you can check that out there. And it's also got the hashtag for this year's event, which is MiCareerQuest 2024. Last year we had some super awesome pictures from exhibitors, and also the educators took some really great shots of their students. So feel free to take pictures. If you have selfie stands at your exhibit, have people tag them on social media. And that's also listed in the educator packet.
Okay. I think we're at questions now, right? Yeah. So, you don't want the same song? I've got bad news. At least for you, it's jump around, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so it was move it for I think like 5 or 6 years, so we've switched to jump around.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Yes, and something else we don't have in this, but I do want to make sure people are aware of, is no air horns this year. Last year there were air horns and it was very loud. No air horns. We do have an air horn sound at the end of the music to help students know it's time to move, and it can be really confusing if there's air horns blaring throughout the MiCareerQuest.
For the record, I did throw out Cocoa Melon, so nobody took that out.
That's even worse.
On move-in day, what's the earliest time we can get in there?
9 a.m. That's for the large vehicle move-in is 9 a.m.
Yeah, and I'm just getting in to set up, without a view.
9:30 a.m. is when it's scheduled by industry. If you need to come earlier than your industry is scheduled, please reach out to your industry council lead. It's usually okay. We just need to make sure for where people are setting up that you're not, if you set up and somebody else needs to get past you with a large vehicle, we need to make sure that that's worked out. So the second flyer that's there that has kind of highlighting at the top, move in, move out, has each of the move-in times listed by industry.
If we've got some volunteers that may be coming from our company for like just the second session, where is the best place for them to like do their check-in and get the lanyards and everything? Is it the table at the quadrant or in the main?
The main table will be there the entire time,
Okay.
so right when they walk in, I would say that's probably the best place to check in. Yeah.
You'll be tracking students that'll do the 3D mapping afterwards for numbers and demographics.
That's a good question.
We're tracking numbers, we're not tracking demographics, but we do have we're working to make sure that it's gonna be posted on our website, on a link on the website, so that way we can track. I guess we could theoretically look at the IPs and maybe get some information, but we don't usually go into that degree of taking their information. We've talked about putting it through a registration page, so we need to have them do that first, but we don't wanna put up barriers for students to get in, so we'll just be using numbers from the website.
What's the deadline to send in your information for the standard radio station?
For the, sorry, I couldn't hear you.
For the 3D mapping.
Oh, please put that information on your Basecamp by tomorrow. We'll be pulling information next week also, so if you're not able to get it there, if you put it on by next week, we can get it, but tomorrow is the day. After that, we'll be pulling websites for companies that haven't responded, just to make sure if you do have a website that students do get into that. So there's a Basecamp folder. We have an example for West Michigan Works. Go into the files and documents and then add a folder with your company name that has a link document. You can create a document in Basecamp that has those links, and then you can just upload files, PDFs, things that you want students to have access to in that folder. It's really helpful for like apprenticeship programs, want to get information into the hands of kids, so that's a way that you can make sure that students and their parents are able to get those flyers and not actually have them at the event, because sometimes at the event students will just take those flyers and throw them on the ground. So we want to make sure students want to get the information that they're getting. There's another point that we, kind of along the lines of a question that was asked earlier, is please don't collect individually identifiable student data at MiCareerQuest. It's okay if you have a survey or if students want to get more information and they want to reach out to you, to give them a way that they can reach out to you, but please do not yourself collect the identifiable student data. One question that we sometimes get from people is, where do we go to engage students? If you have enough people at your exhibit, I would encourage you to have a couple people kind of standing out and pulling students into your exhibit. A lot of times students may not seem like they want to engage with an exhibit, but as soon as you can spark their interest, they'll go into an exhibit and have a lot of fun, learn a lot of things, but it's not until you do that initial outreach. They may not look like they're going to be interested. It gets easier to reach out to them if you've done it a couple of times, but feel free to have some people go out and actually start getting some of those students in, especially if you feel like you don't have as long of a line that you're worried about how are you going to get through all these students. And same for knowing how much swag. If you are giving things out to students, think about how long your activity is going to be, how many students will be doing it. There's 10 groups of students coming through total. And then also plan on more students coming to your exhibit than you would think. That also goes for your voice. you want to have enough people there that you can take some time off. It gets really loud. You're going to be talking to a lot of students over the day, more than you might think that you would.
I have a staff member who is registered to just be a general volunteer, but she's unable to attend orientation. How can she get her t-shirt? I'm gonna brief her on like what to expect, but how can she get her t-shirt?
We'll be sending out information to those volunteers who weren't able to come to the volunteer orientation yesterday, but they'll go to the same info desk and they'll get the teacher at the info desk. There's going to be a big sign above the info desk that has different areas for volunteers, exhibitors, and students to go through.
And we have Alec here putting together a beautiful video for those who missed it. questions do you have? All right. Anything else? Well, thank you, everybody. Once again, we appreciate your time. Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. MiCareerQuest would not be possible without all the work. Like, I've gone to planning meetings, I've seen everything that you're doing, not just this meeting, but all the planning that's going on behind the scenes for students. We've had great responses from students, and it wouldn't be possible without all of your volunteering for MiCareerQuest, so we really want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We appreciate it so much. Thanks.
Thank you.